Textbook in Geography for Class 12. India, People and Economy. Unit 1, Chapter 1. Population, Distribution, Density, Growth and Composition. The people are a very important component of a country. India is the second most populous country after China in the world, with its total population of 1,028 million 2001. India's population is larger than the total population of North America, South America, and Australia put together. More often, it is argued that such a large population invariably puts pressure on its limited resources and is also responsible for many socio-economic problems in the country. In this chapter, we will discuss the patterns of distribution, density, growth and composition of India's population. Distribution of population. Examine Figure 1.1 and try to describe the patterns of spatial distribution of population shown on it. It is clear that India has a highly uneven pattern of population distribution. The percentage shares of population of the states and union territories in the country show that Uttar Pradesh has the highest population, followed by Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, and Andhra Pradesh. Check from the table Appendix 1 that UP, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, along with Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Karnataka, and Gujarat together account for about 76% of the total population of the country. On the other hand, share of population is very small in the states like Jammu and Kashmir, 0.98%, Arunachal Pradesh, 0.11%, and Uttaranchal, 0.83%, in spite of these states having fairly large geographical area. Such an uneven spatial distribution of population in India suggests a close relationship between population and physical, socio-economic, and historical factors. As far as the physical factors are concerned, it is clear that climate, along with terrain and availability of water, largely determines the pattern of the population distribution. Consequently, we observe that the North Indian plains, deltas, and coastal plains have higher proportion of population than the interior districts of southern and central Indian states, Himalayas, some of the northeastern and the western states. However, development of irrigation, Rajasthan, availability of mineral and energy resources, Jharkhand, and development of transport network, peninsular states, have resulted in moderate to high concentration of population in areas which were previously very thinly populated. Among the socio-economic and historical factors of distribution of population, important ones are evolution of settled agriculture and agricultural development, pattern of human settlement, development of transport network, industrialization, and urbanization. It is observed that the regions falling in the river plains and coastal areas of India have remained the regions of larger population concentration. Even though the uses of natural resources like land and water in these regions have shown the sign of degradation, the concentration of population remains high because of an early history of human settlement and development of transport network. On the other hand, the urban regions of Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore, Pune, Ahmedabad, Chennai, and Jaipur have high concentration of population due to industrial development and urbanization, drawing a large numbers of rural-urban migrants. Density of population. Density of population is expressed as number of persons per unit area. It helps in getting a better understanding of the spatial distribution of population in relation to land. The density of population in India 2001 is 313 persons per square kilometer and ranks third among the most densely populated countries of Asia, following Bangladesh 849 persons and Japan 334 persons. There has been a steady increase of about 200 persons per square kilometer over the last 50 years, as the density of population increased from 117 persons per square kilometer in 1951 to 313 persons per square kilometer in 2001. The data shown in Appendix 1 give an idea of spatial variation of population densities in the country, which ranges from as low as 13 persons per square kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh to 9,340 persons in the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Among the northern states, West Bengal 903, Bihar 880, and Uttar Pradesh 690 have higher densities, while Kerala 819 and Tamil Nadu 480 have higher densities among the peninsular Indian states. States like Assam, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Jharkhand, Orissa have moderate densities. The hill states of the Himalayan region and northeastern states of India, excluding Assam, have relatively low densities, while the Union territories, excluding Andaman and Nicobar Islands, have very high densities of population. The density of population, as discussed in the earlier paragraph, is a crude measure of human and land relationship. To get a better insight into the human-land ratio in terms of pressure of population on total cultivable land, the physiological and the agricultural densities should be found out, which are significant for a country like India having a large agricultural population. Growth of population. Growth of population is the change in the number of people living in a particular area between 2 points of time. Its rate is expressed in percentage. Population growth has two components, namely natural and induced. While the natural growth is analyzed by assessing the crude birth and death rates, the induced components are explained by the volume of inward and outward movement of people in any given area. However, in the present chapter, we will only discuss the natural growth of India's population. The decadal and annual growth rates of population in India are both very high and steadily increasing over time. The annual growth rate of India's population is 2.4%. At this current rate of increase, it is estimated that the country's population will double itself in another 36 years and even surpass population of China. The growth rate of population in India over the last 1 century has been caused by annual birth rate and death rate and rate of migration, and thereby shows different trends. There are 4 distinct phases of growth identified within this period. Phase 1. The period from 1901 to 1921 is referred to as a period of stagnant or stationary phase of growth of India's population, since in this period growth rate was very low, even recording a negative growth rate during 1911 and 1921. Both the birth rate and death rate were high, keeping the rate of increase low. Poor health and medical services, illiteracy of people at large, an inefficient distribution system of food and other basic necessities were largely responsible for a high birth and death rates in this period. Phase 2. The decades 1921 to 1951 are referred to as the period of steady population growth. An overall improvement in health and sanitation throughout the country brought down the mortality rate. At the same time, better transport and communication system improved distribution system. The crude birth rate remained high in this period, leading to higher growth rate than the previous phase. This is impressive at the backdrop of Great Economic Depression, 1920s, and World War II. Phase 3. The decades 1951 to 1981 are referred to as the period of population explosion in India, which was caused by a rapid fall in the mortality rate but a high fertility rate of population in the country. The average annual growth rate was as high as 2.2%. It is in this period, after the independence, that developmental activities were introduced through a centralized planning process, and economy started showing up, ensuring the improvement of living condition of people at large. Consequently, there was a high natural increase in higher growth rate. Besides, increased international migration, bringing in Tibetans, Bangladeshis, Nepalis, and even people from Pakistan contributed to the high growth rate. Phase 4. In the post-1981 till present, the growth rate of country's population, though remained high, has started slowing down gradually. A downward trend of crude birth rate is held responsible for such a population growth. This was in turn affected by an increase in the mean age at marriage, improved quality of life, particularly education of females in the country. The growth rate of population is, however, still high in the country, and it has been projected by World Development Report that population of India will touch 1,350 million by 2025. The analysis done so far shows the average growth rate, but the country also has wide variation in growth rates from one area to another, which is discussed below. Regional variation in population growth. The growth rate of population during 1991 to 2001 in Indian states and union territories shows very obvious pattern. The states like Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Puducherry, and Goa show a low rate of growth not exceeding 20% over the decade. Kerala registered the lowest growth rate, 9.4, not only in this group of states but also in the country as a whole. A continuous belt of states from west to east in the northwest, north, and north-central parts of the country has relatively high growth rate than the southern states. It is in this belt, comprising Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, West Bengal, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand. The growth rate on the average remained 20 to 25%. An important aspect of population growth in India is the growth of its adolescents. At present, the share of adolescents that is up to the age group of 10 to 19 years is about 22% 2001, among which male adolescents contribute 53% and female adolescents constitute 47%. The adolescent population, though regarded as the youthful population having high potentials, but at the same time they are quite vulnerable if not guided and channelized properly. There are many challenges for the society as far as these adolescents are concerned, some of which are lower age at marriage, illiteracy, particularly female illiteracy, school dropouts, low intake of nutrients, high rate of maternal mortality of adolescent mothers, high rates of HIV or AIDS infections, physical and mental disability or retardedness, drug abuse and alcoholism, juvenile delinquency and committance of crimes, etc. In view of these, the government of India has undertaken certain policies to impart proper education to the adolescent groups so that their talents are better channelized and properly utilized. The National Youth Policy is one example which has been designed to look into the overall development of a large youth and adolescent population. The National Youth Policy of Government of India, launched in 2003, stresses on an all-round improvement of the youth and adolescents, enabling them to shoulder responsibility towards constructive development of the country. It also aims at reinforcing the qualities of patriotism and responsible citizenship. The thrust of this policy is youth empowerment in terms of their effective participation in decision making and carrying the responsibility of an able leader. Special emphasis was given in empowering women and girl child to bring parity in the male-female status. Moreover, deliberate efforts were made to look into youth health, sports and recreation, creativity and awareness about new innovations in the spheres of science and technology. It appears from the above discussion that the growth rate of population is widely variant over space and time in the country, and also highlights various social problems related to the growth of population. However, in order to have a better insight into the growth pattern of population, it is also necessary to look into the social composition of population. Population composition. Population composition is the distinct field of study within population geography, with a vast coverage of analysis of age and sex, place of residence, ethnic characteristics, tribes, language, religion, marital status, literacy and education, occupational characteristics, etc. In this section, the composition of Indian population with respect to their rural-urban characteristics, language, religion, and pattern of occupation will be discussed. Rural-urban composition. Composition of population by their respective places of residence is an important indicator of social and economic characteristics. This becomes even more significant for a country where about 72% of its total population lives in villages. Do you know that India has 638,588 villages according to Census 2001, out of which 5,93,731, 93% are inhabited villages. However, the distribution of rural population is not uniform throughout the country. You might have noted that the states like Bihar and Sikkim have very high percentage of rural population. The states of Goa and Maharashtra have only little over half of their population residing in villages. The Union Territories, on the other hand, have smaller proportion of rural population, except Dadra and Nagar Haveli, 77.1%. The size of villages also varies considerably. It is less than 200% in the hill states of northeastern India, western Rajasthan and Rann of Kutch, and as high as 17,000% in the states of Kerala and in parts of Maharashtra. A thorough examination of the pattern of distribution of rural population of India reveals that both at intrastate and interstate levels, the relative degree of urbanization and extent of rural-urban migration regulate the concentration of rural population. You have noted that contrary to rural population, the proportion of urban population, 27.8% in India, is quite low, but it is showing a much faster rate of growth over the decades. In fact, since 1931, the growth rate of urban population has accelerated due to enhanced economic development and improvement in health and hygienic conditions. The distribution of urban population too, as in the case of total population, has a wide variation throughout the country. It is, however, noticed that in almost all the states and union territories, there has been a considerable increase of urban population. This indicates both development of urban areas in terms of socio-economic conditions, and an increased rate of rural-urban migration. The rural-urban migration is conspicuous in the case of urban areas along the main road links and railroads in the North Indian plains. The industrial areas around Kolkata, Mumbai, Bangalore, Mysore, Madurai, Coimbatore, Ahmedabad, Surat, Delhi, Kanpur, and Ludhiana, Jalandhar. In the agriculturally stagnant parts of the middle and lower Ganga plains, Telangana, non-irrigated western Rajasthan, remote hilly tribal areas of northeast, along the flood-prone areas of peninsular India, and along the eastern part of Madhya Pradesh, the degree of urbanization has remained low. Linguistic composition. India is a land of linguistic diversity. According to Grierson, Linguistic Survey of India, 1903 to 1928, there were 179 languages and as many as 554 dialects in the country. In the context of modern India, there are about 18 scheduled languages, 1991 census, and a number of non-scheduled languages. See how many languages appear on a 10 rupees note. Among the scheduled languages, the speakers of Hindi have the highest percentage, 40.42. The smallest language groups are Kashmiri and Sanskrit speakers, 0.01% each. However, it is noticed that the linguistic regions in the country do not maintain a sharp and distinct boundary. Rather, they gradually merge and overlap in their respective border zones. Linguistic classification. The speakers of major Indian languages belong to 4 language families, which have their subfamilies and branches or groups. Religious composition. Religion is one of the most dominant forces affecting the cultural and political life of the most of Indians. Since religion virtually permeates into almost all the aspects of people's family and community lives, it is important to study the religious composition in detail. The spatial distribution of religious communities in the country shows that there are certain states and districts having large numerical strength of one religion, while the same may be very negligibly represented in other states. Hindus are distributed as a major group in many states, ranging from 70 to 90% and above, except the districts of states along Indo-Bangladesh border, Indo-Pak border, Jammu and Kashmir, hill states of northeast, and in scattered areas of Deccan Plateau and Ganga Plain. Muslims, the largest religious minority, are concentrated in Jammu and Kashmir, certain districts of West Bengal and Kerala, many districts of Uttar Pradesh, in and around Delhi, and in Lakshadweep. They form majority in Kashmir Valley and Lakshadweep. The Christian population is distributed mostly in rural areas of the country. The main concentration is observed along the western coast around Goa, Kerala, and also in the hill states of Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Chotanagpur area, and hills of Manipur. Sikhs are mostly concentrated in a relatively small area of the country, particularly in the states of Punjab, Haryana, and Delhi. Jains and Buddhists, the smallest religious groups in India, have their concentration only in selected areas of the country. Jains have major concentration in the urban areas of Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. While the Buddhists are concentrated mostly in Maharashtra, the other areas of Buddhist majority are Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir, Tripura and Lahul, and Spiti in Himachal Pradesh. Formal expression of religions on landscape is manifested through sacred structures, use of cemeteries, and assemblages of plants and animals. Groves of trees for religious purposes. Sacred structures are widely distributed throughout the country. This may range from inconspicuous village shrines to large Hindu temples, monumental masjids, or ornately designed cathedrals in large metropolitan cities, these temples, masjids, gurudwaras, monasteries, and churches differ in size, form, space, use, and density, while attributing a special dimension to the total landscape of the area. The other religions of India include Zoroastrians, tribal, and other indigenous faiths and beliefs. These groups are concentrated in small pockets scattered throughout the country. Composition of working population. The population of India, according to their economic status, is divided into three groups, namely main workers, marginal workers, and non-workers. Main worker is a person who works for at least 183 days in a year. Marginal worker is a person who works for less than 183 days in a year. It is observed that in India, the proportion of workers, both main and marginal, is only 39% 2001, leaving a vast majority of 61% as non-workers. This indicates an economic status in which there is a larger proportion of dependent population, further indicating possible existence of large number of unemployed or underemployed people. The proportion of working population of the states and union territories show a moderate variation from about 25% in Goa to about 53% in Mizoram. The states with larger percentages of workers are Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Meghalaya. Among the union territories, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu have higher participation rate. It is understood that in the context of a country like India, the work participation rate tends to be higher in the areas of lower levels of economic development, since a number of manual workers are needed to perform the subsistence or near subsistence economic activities. The occupational composition of India's population, which actually means engagement of an individual in farming, manufacturing, trade, services, or any kind of professional activities, shows a large proportion of primary sector workers compared to secondary and tertiary sectors. About 58.2% of total working population are cultivators and agricultural laborers, whereas only 4.2% of workers are engaged in household industries, and 37.6% are other workers, including non-household industries, trade, commerce, construction, and repair and other services. As far as the occupation of country's male and female population is concerned, male workers outnumber female workers in all the three sectors. The number of female workers is relatively high in primary sector, though in recent years there has been some improvement in work participation of women in the secondary and tertiary sectors. It is important to note that the proportion of workers in agricultural sector in India has shown a decline over the last few decades, 66.85% in 1991 to 58.2% in 2001. Consequently, the participation rate in secondary and tertiary sector has registered an increase. This indicates a shift of dependence of workers from farm-based occupations to non-farm-based ones, indicating a sectoral shift in the economy of the country. The spatial variation of work participation rate in different sectors in the country is very wide. For instance, the states like Himachal Pradesh and Nagaland have very large shares of cultivators. On the other hand, states like Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and Madhya Pradesh have higher proportion of agricultural laborers. The highly urbanized areas like Delhi, Chandigarh, and Puducherry have a very large proportion of workers being engaged in other services. This indicates not only availability of limited farming land, but also large-scale urbanization and industrialization requiring more workers in non-farm sectors. That's all for Unit 1, Chapter 1. So the next chapter or another first chapter from another book will be read soon. So stay tuned and learn with me. Thank you.